Hey everybody, this is Dale Styles. This is my week 4 discussion. Um, bop, 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 bip, 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 bip. Ooh, ah, not sure what I just watched. For me, Web 1.0 was the internet. It was everything. Um, Everything we did, the websites I built that had international attention, and the interactions I had with hundreds, if not thousands, of users was all Web 1.0. But we didn't call it Web 1.0, obviously. You don't name the first version of things most of the time. I wrote everything on Notepad and HTML code, and then it came up looking like something that was typed up on Word or something. Everything worked, and it was more or less static. It was, what I would refer to as a newspaper, a digital newspaper. Web 2.0 came along, and we didn't know it. We didn't know what Web 2.0 was. It didn't, it was still the web. It was just different. Um, Things were more dynamic. We could name themes and styles, and all you had to do is just type those different things as tags into the HTML coding, and that totally changed how a page acted as we scrolled across the page. Later, that meant more interactivity. We were talking in real time, through chat and such and so forth, and then eventually social media, and it was amazing. And it wasn't until later we called it Web 2.0. So with these tags, the style tag and a theme tag and all these different things, we could change colors and fonts as the cursor hovered over the text. And as we learned more about how it worked, we could write these follow me style programs that once activated would cause all the text on the screen to warp and follow the mouse cursor around. It was kind of creepy, even though I could, write the code. I could change how that occurred just by changing different little lines. You would change the hexadecimal code, which, you had to do some different math and stuff and whatnot to get it to work. But you would choose the different hexadecimals. You could change the color. You could change the amount that as your mouse went over, that it kind of warped in and warped out. It was kind of freaky to watch, but creating it was kind of neat. Now, as that progressed, games became more and more common online. And then, of course, the more people figured out, okay, well, I want to save this, so we need access to the drive. So once we had access to the drive, people were fishing through your browser data originally to find the saved game or the saved data pieces that were legitimately part of their website. It was, okay, I'm going to save a little piece here. And then that turned into phishing through your browser data while you were playing a game, or going onto a bank's website or such and so forth. And then that became data mining, and that's what Google's really good at. They'll data mine through stuff. They'll find information on you, and then try to sell you stuff. So instead of having data wherever they wanted it, they isolated it into these cookies that we know about. So then it was, say, instead of saving stuff on your drive, cookies were saved into a cache location, still on your drive, but it was limited in, you had to be, boxed into this spot. You could save your cache here. You couldn't go all over the drive, do whatever, because that was really causing some problems with security, and it just wasn't going to happen. So as we learned in the video for this class, blogs, wikis, and mapping became possible. To me, the mapping tools were the most amazing. I mean, those were cool. we used to use paper maps, and I was proud of the fact that I was one of the few that could properly fold it, put it back in the glove box for later use. But being able to, I would always go a certain way somewhere, and now I could type it into my computer and go, I could have saved 2 miles, nearly 10 minutes off my commute every day if I went this other direction. I've never even been down that road. And then look at that. I'm going down a different road. I'm going new directions to go places, and it was kind of neat. And then later I needed it for other reasons. So you just, do your little thing, print it out on a piece of paper, and take it with you. And of course, now we have our phone. We just type it in GPS and go, bloop, and away we go. Set it on the dashboard and watch it navigate as you drive. It's telling you. Sometimes it's extremely wordy and it talks all the time that you're driving, but takes you right where you need to go most of the time. I've ended up on the wrong side of town trying to go to a hotel room with a U-Haul, big U-Haul, and a trailer with a truck on it, and we're pulling into a apartment complex that has very narrow roads. Ended up having to back 2 U-Hauls out at like 2 o'clock in the morning when we're supposed to be at a hotel on the other side of town. So it's not perfect, but it's kind of neat. So my mind still thinks in Web 1.0 because I spent so much time creating in it. But I almost exclusively use Web 2.0 now. I can't think of too many sites that I go to frequently that are Web 1.0. We essentially read someone's blog. My blog back in the day was basically a newspaper. I wrote it in HTML, I posted it, and then anybody that wanted to react or respond or whatever either picked up the phone or they sent me an email. With Web 2.0, we can post blogs on WordPress and other sites and receive nearly instantaneous feedback. It's crazy. Now, obviously, you know how creepy that Facebook, Google, and Amazon can be with their always on, always in your face ad styles that seem to know about that conversation you had with your mom about baking apple pie, the time you mentioned to your spouse that you wanted to go to the movies, and the phone call you had with your good friend whose son had a new baby boy. Now I've got ads. We don't even have to search for those things. It's like they hear everything we say and then present us with the ad. Oh, look, a rattler. That's cute. Wait a minute, why am I looking at this? It's not my kid. It's my friend's. It's nuts. So in order to kind of confuse the algorithms, I purposely say random things throughout the day that are polar opposites of the ads that I'm seeing just to force it to wonder about my sanity. I'm waiting for it to give me an advertisement for the local state hospital. I'm not kidding. So now we got this Web 3.0. The third generation's coming. And I went to Block Geeks and read an article by Rajarshi Mitra called What is Web 3.0? It's the evolution of the internet. In this article, Mitra says that computer scientists and internet experts believe that these changes are going to make the internet smarter and our lives easier. He also talks about Web 1.1 as being a time before Google that was dominated by Alta Vista and Netscape. I was a huge Netscape user and still miss it to this day. He defines Web 2.0 as a read-write sort of web. Users were creating more content than ever before. Now, at this point, I kind of look at the article and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about because I was creating content during Web 1.0. Of course, I had to use HTML to do it, but with Web 2.0, everyone could create content on the fly. With Web 3.0, it gets a little creepy because everything we buy on Amazon and other sites, the website algorithm suggests other items that might interest us. So now I'm sitting there. I just bought a huge sound system so I can do karaoke up at the American Legion. And now every time I turn around, I'm being offered a brand new microphone, case, new set of cables, and on and on and on. I'm like, I've got everything I need. I can't think of anything else, and I sure can't afford anything else. I've maxed out my card. I'm probably in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, really, that's all I need is this website. Follow me around, and every time I'm on Facebook or YouTube or Amazon, these ads for this same stuff is popping up, popping up, popping up, popping up. And the most amusing thing to me is most of the time at one time I went and bought King sheets, right? And then for like 6 or 7 months after that, I was being advertised King sheets. I'm like, I bought one set. We had one. And then my wife bought one set. Don't need another one right now. Thanks. I'd kind of like to look at that baby rattler again if you don't mind. So at any rate, Web 3.0 is learning about us and trying to present things that we'd be interested in. And I'm really skeptical about this because Facebook tried to create an algorithm that grouped people together based on their interests. Okay, sounds like a great idea. I want to be around people that are like me. I want to be around people who think the way I do. I want to be around people who believe the same way that I believe. But here's the problem, right? Before long, we became more and more opinionated because everyone we knew was just like us. And none of us were like you. So you must be wrong. Because I'm right. My friend over here thinks just like I do. My friend over here thinks just like I do. You're weird. You must be wrong. So that's sort of a bad conversation when you're trying to figure out if you want pizza or hamburgers at the office luncheon, but enter politics and you've got a powder cake, baby. Anyone remember, witness, be part of something like this back in 2016 and fear it will happen again in 2020? Everyone on one side is convinced the other side is stupid, crazy, and incapable of making a competent decision. Like those memes, right? The last thing I think I want right now is a website trying to figure me out and getting it wrong because I wrote a point paper about a subject and then using that to label me as some sort of extremist. Yeah, I need that like I need another hole in my head. And here's something interesting. A few years ago, Microsoft told us that they had already had software that could read a person's face and decide whether or not that person was drunk, too tired, or was having a medical emergency, and it would disable the vehicle before it could be driven. Just shut it off. Then, if the person became too angry or whatever, and they had an emotional outburst, or they really seriously had a medical problem, the software could then call authorities, and would call 911, and tell it what it thought the person was going through. And it would call the police or medical assistance. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. So, software exists. Cellular connection exists. Web 3.0 is capable of this. Some of it's good. Some of it's creepy. So, I guess we'll see what's going on with this Internet of Things and Web 3.0. It's just amazing. And it's part of what's possible with Web 3.0. All right, Really long video, so let me get out of here. I'll talk to y'all next week.